Hey everybody, you're used to seeing me do very colorful, brightly colored even, gel press prints, but today I'm going to talk to you about creating incredibly detailed but very neutral backgrounds that you can then use for your colorful stamp images, for colorful items in your art journal, etc. We are going to create extremely neutral backgrounds like the one on this bright and colorful card. I have my 5x7 gel press here today and some Lucas white paint and a few dots of colored paint just to show you the ratio of color to white that I'm going to be using today. I am using my hot press watercolor paper today. The reason I'm using my 5x7 plate is because it matches the size of my 5x7 watercolor paper, and I never use hot press watercolor paper because it can't take as much water for actual watercolor. I usually only use it for techniques. But since it matches the size of my gel press, that's what I'm going to use. So I put just a little tiny dot of navy paint and a lot of white paint. And that's how I'm going to start adding texture and interest to a very, very neutral background. I just want to see a little tiny bit of color in each one of these, and I'm just going to go over the 4 prints that you saw at the beginning of the video. So I'll be adding layers and layers and layers of texture and mostly white paint to build those prints up. That is a beautiful stencil. I have all the stencils listed below the video. And now I'm going to do a pickup print onto another sheet of hot press watercolor paper. And I'll just go back and forth between these 4 prints. Now, someone in one of my videos said that I rub the paper for too long, but I don't. I rub it for exactly how long I need to lift the media off of the plate. I always want people to see most things in real time so that when they sit down to create, they're not frustrated or disappointed that they can't do it in the amount of time that I did it in. Now this is Jane Davenport matte finish paint, so I'm going to see how this behaves. And you can see that I knocked a big piece off the container onto my gel press, which would probably give me some texture, but that's not what I'm going for. So you can see that the matte finish paint behaves a little bit differently. It's kind of staying in one place, which makes sense with that different finish. But I will show you how to get that onto your plate anyway. I'm using this little finishing texture brush, and I'm just going to pick up some of the paint and add the texture myself all around the paint that's on the gel press already. You can add texture with anything that you have laying around. Bubble wrap is always a favorite of gel printers, and I like little brushes and things that give me sort of an irregular texture. Irregular is my favorite. That's why I have a tortie cat. So I'll just add a little bit of brown and a little bit of that peachy color, and then print on top of this, print with the swirls. Now this one you have to kind of really rub to get that square texture. You need to sometimes get your nails in there or the tips of your fingers. There is a great little tool that I can't remember the name of that helps you as well. So you can see I just got just a little bit, but it all adds up to a beautifully detailed print at the end. The pickup prints are always my favorite from these, so I will grab this one. I also like to go back and forth between organic forms and geometric forms on my stencils. So you'll see me do that a lot. And look at that beautiful texture that is left on the plate that is going to come up with subsequent prints. This time I'm using black and silver, and I'm going to get an overall dark print that I will then go back and add a white layer to really make the black and silver pop. This is that Pebeo silver paint that I was telling you about in my last video. It's a beautiful metallic. They have like a rust color and gold, a really fun green that I love. So definitely check those out. This one will be very dark. It's a bottom layer, so don't worry about that. I call it my Batman print. So it's just overall black and silver. Then I will do a little picking up of what's left. Make sure I get all the little gritty bits that make it good and textured. And you can see some of those patterns from underneath. To me, these very neutral prints almost have a quality of concrete or paving stones, which is what I love about them because concrete is so interesting. I took a class with Carla Sondheim where one of the exercises was to draw the imperfections that you saw in a sidewalk or another piece of concrete. And that's sort of the look that I'm trying to create with these neutral backgrounds. It's something that you want to stare at, but it doesn't interfere with a brighter stamped image or die cut image that you'll see me use. This stencil is really fun. It's actually not a stencil, it's a mask. And it creates those little chain links that look so neat. And then the reverse is super fun too. And you can see just on my plate what I mean about the concrete. So I'll take this one that doesn't have a lot of texture yet and I'll really liven it up with the ghost print. Get all the corners. The corners are where the good stuff lives on a gel press print. So there, that just sort of transforms that, but you can still see the navy underneath. Now I'll take this one that looks like concrete and I'll add just a little touch of blue. So, of course, I have to. It's my video, right? So there has to be some turquoise in it somewhere. But I mean just a tiny dot, like that's not even the size of a pea. I just want it to pop out in a couple of places, but again, stay in the background, not interfere with what I end up doing with this print. If you go back to the beginning of the video, you can pause on these prints and you can see the level of detail that's in each one, and you can see how little things like a tiny drop of turquoise really livens up a print that you've only done something on several times. This diagonal weave is fun, again, going for the geometric after the more organic chain link. And really rub that one in there good so you can pick up those little tiny squares. And you can see how much of it I lifted. And that looks amazing. That one ends up being my favorite print. So I'll pull that off and still get, I'd had organic. Now I have geometric. And get that good and lifted. It's always so mysterious wondering what it's going to look like. I love those little squares on top. And I got more of the blue with that second print. So you can see how detailed that is, how many layers I put on there. Same with this one, again with the concrete look. These are going to be beautiful backgrounds. And now I want to liven up that darker print with a layer of white. So there's the third print, and then I have my dark black and silver print. So I will put down my trusty white paint. You can see on the dark paints, I had to squeeze those so hard. I'm almost out of a lot of my Dina Wakley paints because I use them so much in gel printing, so I need to get some more of those. So I'll do the same, add just a little pop of blue, which I think will be pretty with the black and the silver. And it looks like a little pink is coming off from my brayer from a previous session. Since this one leaves a lot of open space, that's what I'm going to use to sort of mask out a lot of that black print and bring the design of the stencil more into the foreground. Look how dramatic that is. So something that looked like just a boring black print. Just one more layer. It's always just one more layer with gel printing. One more layer, and it's amazing. So I'll do the same here, add the swirls on top. And you know it's a good session when your hands are covered with paint, like mine are, and my beautiful craft mat, which I'll also link you to below. That one is gorgeous. So here's what I ended up doing with the background. It's phenomenally interesting, but it doesn't interfere with this beautiful tree. So head on over to my blog for more information and close-ups of the prints, and thanks so much for watching.